We're going to go to the French newspapers now. Elena is with us as ever here on set on France 24. What's in the papers today then, Elena?
Hello again, Stuart. Terra in Tare, that's the headline here at Libération. They've got this quite shocking picture, or at least an eye-catching picture here, of a wounded demonstrator in Tare Square being carried through the crowd on the shoulders of his companions there. Now inside, protesters tell their correspondent that the military is worse than Mubarak now, that there's nothing really to choose between the generals and the previous government that was overthrown in January. Their analysis in that paper says that Egypt has reached a tipping point just now, because even though those liberal and lefty groups that were key in the revolution have been complaining for months about the number of political prisoners being locked up under the military government, there's 12,000 in jails now. For a while that didn't really echo with popular opinion, but now that unemployment is going back up in Egypt and the generals backed down on a promise to raise the minimum wage, then that's added economic misery to that political discontentment that existed already, and it's created a tipping point that's got thousands back onto the streets again. And the paper reckons that unless the military is replaced by civilian government quickly, the unrest won't end.
There's another story which is dominating the papers here in France today. It's a particularly nasty murder, isn't it, which is all over the front pages too.
Yes, this unfortunately is horrible. There's the front page picture of this girl here, Agnès, on nearly all the front pages. Now, she unfortunately was raped and murdered last week. She was 13 by a 17-year-old at her school. You can see her there on the front page of Le Figaro. Now, that paper has as their headline, "Emergency Measures Wanted Against Reoffenders." Now, that's because this has become a major political issue here in France, because the 17-year-old boy who's been arrested for that was already awaiting trial for raping another young girl in August 2010. Now, the government has announced an emergency measure to stop any young people who are on trial for serious sex offences in the future, to make sure that they're kept in a young offenders institution and not in an ordinary school. But it has created a lot of anger all around the press. She's here also on the front page of Le Parisien. Their headline there is "How to Avoid This Kind of Drama in the Future." Libération, though, if we have a look, has quite a critical article about how they say the government always makes crime policy immediately after, in the 24 hours, they say, after serious murders like this. They just sort of make policies up as they go along, and that might not be the best way to come up with a considered crime policy on how to deal with reoffenders.
Yeah, the shotgun reaction. Now, there's also a big economic story around this morning. French local authorities, they're broke, apparently.
Yes, do you remember this one about Dexia, the Franco-British bank that had to be bailed out by both states? Will was helping us out with some economic background on that later.
He was earlier.
Now, the moaning mayors are back on front pages. That's the headline at the business paper La Tribune. The mayors are moaning because, as we said, they've got no money. That bank Dexia famously drew up a number of loans in Swiss francs and dollars and then loaned money to local authorities. That left them with soaring interest rates and soaring repayment bills when the exchange rate changed. And that also makes the front page of the free paper 20 Minutes today. Their headline is "Mayor Sickness." That in French sounds like seasickness, of course. France's thousands of elected mayors are meeting in Paris today, basically to complain to the government about how they've got no money. Libération has got an article revealing they've been into some of Dexia's old documents, and they reveal that Dexia didn't offer those local authorities any choice. They used them, if you liked, as a laboratory experiment, the paper says, for their most dodgy loans, and didn't offer them any less risky deals.
And finally, a very pongy but very tasty story Elena's got for it now, from rural France. This one's to do with camembert. It's row brewing or ripening, should we say, over camembert.
Yes. How do you tell, Stuart, if an artisanal camembert is authentic? Do you know?
Do you smell it? I don't know.
Well, apparently you need to make sure it says Camembert de Normandie on the package and not Camembert fabriqué, made in Normandy, because the fabriqué one is a scam by industrial producers who could be using milk from any part of France and are making it industrially as opposed to the traditional way using raw milk. The artisanal producers are fed up with them exploiting this loophole and they're suing, so it can't happen anymore. The Parisien says that is important to French people. They've been out on the streets asking people if they know how to recognise an artisanal camembert. 4 out of 5 people think they can, but actually only one person gets it right. And Stuart, he's an Englishman.
We need a taste test. Elena, thanks very much. Elena with the papers here on France 24.